Relevant. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, yes, this is Tim. I can hear you.
Thank you very much.
Executive Officer of the Board.
In today's session,
Great,
with a
thank you
very,
all.
very, very special tribute to our outgoing chair, Supervisor Solis. Each supervisor will, of course, be given the opportunity to make a few remarks. And we're going to begin with District 5. Thank you, Madam Chair. Supervisor Solis, thank you so much for your leadership as chair this year. I knew when you served as chair pro tem alongside me last year, you would continue to be capable in capable hands when it was time for you to take the gavel, and you did not disappoint. 2021 presented our board with many opportunities to serve our communities. Every step of the way, I admired your presence in the First District and your passion for the county as a whole. I'm thankful for your spirit of collaboration on some of the most pressing regional issues. I especially thank you for your partnership as we work together to serve people experiencing homelessness. This crisis requires input from our cities and communities, which is why I was so thankful that you gave our local partners a listening ear. I was proud to partner with you to create the $10 million Interim Housing Service Fund and the Blue Ribbon Commission on Homelessness, both of which sought to find local solutions. You've been a champion for compassionate care, and I truly do appreciate your work to serve those experiencing homelessness through mental health triage centers. I really commend your dedication to increase affordable housing and was proud to partner with you on your motion to remove barriers to create accessory dwelling units. I've also appreciated your commitment to ensure a good quality of life for all of our county residents. I was grateful to work on a motion with you to protect public health and safety by funding nuanced abatement teams that support the Department of Regional Planning. Since many of our San Gabriel Valley cities neighbor one another, I was thankful for your partnership to enhance traffic safety and ensure access to open space throughout the San Gabriel Mountains. Thank you also for partnering with me as I worked to combat illegal cannabis grows and dispensaries in the Antelope and the San Gabriel Valleys. As we address the pressing mental health challenges residents are facing because of the pandemic, I have been grateful for your dedication to ensure the resources and services that they need. The work we are doing to provide mental health services in our communities, especially in our schools, something that has been a priority for you, is really changing the way we approach conversations, policy, and programming for all of our youth. Supervisor Solis, this year was certainly not an easy one to be chair, but I am thankful that you were there and had a steadfast commitment to make Los Angeles County stronger every day, something you did with passion and with dedication. I hope you can take a deep breath and recognize that you have done a job truly well done. Thank you for your leadership over this last year, and also to your staff, because you have incredible staff that supported you with the challenges you faced each day. So thank you very much. We'll move on to Supervisor Hahn, District 4.
Thank you, and I just wanted to add my bit of congratulations to Supervisor Solis for a job well done as the chair of this board the past year. I honestly thought Catherine's leadership during 2020 was probably going to be the most challenging year for a board chair, but certainly 2021 also gave it a run for its money, and Supervisor Solis, you really met that moment, you met that challenge with incredible strength and leadership for all of us. And, you know, at the same time that you were chair of our Board of Supervisors, you were serving as chair on the Metro Board as well. And I don't know how you had enough hours in your day to lead both these incredibly important agencies. And again, your relationships that you garnered while you were in the federal government, certainly as a member of Congress and then as a cabinet member to President Obama, has served us well here in LA County because certainly we've got those relationships, we have those connections, and it was great seeing you represent the County of Los Angeles back in Washington, D.C. recently as President Biden signed the infrastructure bill, and we know what that bill will mean for the residents of LA County. You have been so hardworking and driven, really, to serve the needs of our communities, and it really shows. And I just wanted to say, Supervisor Mitchell, I know you're more than prepared to take on this new role. I think every one of us has brought a unique set of skills and experience to the chair role, and I look forward to seeing how your experience in Sacramento, especially as the chair of the Budget Committee, shapes your approach. Thank you, Supervisor Solis. Congratulations on a job well done. It has been an honor to be a member of this board as you represented Los Angeles County, both in California and nationally. Well done, and best of luck to you, Supervisor Mitchell, for the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to Supervisor Kuehl.
Thank you very much, Madam New Chair, and I won't say Madam Old Chair, but Madam Passing the Gavel Chair. We've been friends quite a long time. I remember supporting you for Community College Board. It must be, well, certainly in the last century. And, Hilda, I really want to say a very deep, deep thank you to you for your leadership this year. We honestly never know what we're capable of until we're faced with these kinds of challenges. And you have definitely risen to the occasion again and again and again. Leadership is such a difficult quality to really describe, but it's clear that you have exhibited really fine leadership this year. Calm, rational, compassionate, funny at times, which of course I appreciate a lot. I want to particularly single out things that you accomplished as chair, but also in areas in which you have provided leadership all along. But as chair, you brought together so many important reforms and moved them forward. I was so happy to see the groundbreaking at the Restorative Village at LACUSC, an extremely important thing, the first in the nation, mental health and well-being campus, one that we're emulating all around the county, and one that I think will be a great example for the whole country. I want to particularly thank you for your leadership on the Family Assistance Program. I think your leadership has made such a difference because people were not thinking about the families of those who lost loved ones because of law enforcement shooting or other actions by law enforcement. Sometimes couldn't even be told where the person had been taken to a hospital or where the body was. Great pain that you recognized in those families. And you made such a difference in insisting on that program and really carrying it forward, and I thank you for that. The work that you did steadfastly in talking about eradicating gangs in the Sheriff's Department was also important, recognized, honestly, nationally, because this is not the only example of it, but a particularly egregious one, and one that I know affects your district deeply. But it wasn't only about your district, as we found out. This was happening really all over in all of our districts. The issue that you brought, which I thought was a little under the radar for a lot of people at first, in waiving the citizenship requirement for LA County employment. I mean, half the people went, what? We still have such a thing. Who knew? But simply to pay attention to these rules that bar people from employment for no reason that helps the county. As a matter of fact, detrimental to the county. Your work on behalf of so many different immigrant communities, not just those who have high numbers in your own district, but recognizing that across the county, this is a really important. leadership on the Immigrant Community Legal Defense Program. So important because so many people were just being told to leave and not provided any defense and would have had a good one. And this is really, I think, creating the Justice Fund in 2017 and carrying it forward from there. Finally, but obviously I don't want to take all the time to say all the things you've done, but the work that you put into the closing Men's Central. I mean, a lot of us have been wanting this to happen for a long time. And you said that our county departments need to pull together and make this work, find the funding stream, shut down this jail, recognizing it's a challenging task, recognizing that it has to be done in a thoughtful way. And I thank you for these and so many other things. And I also want to remind you, you told me I was crazy when I chaired the board and Metro at the same time. So we're both crazy, at least in the same way, and I'm proud of that. A great year, congratulations, and thank you for your compassion, for your friendship, and for all the great work. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, and I concur. I'm applauding all the comments made by our fellow supervisors. I would just add, I think, two things. I don't want to be redundant. I agree with everything everyone has said. First of all, I'll just talk about your leadership during kind of this next phase of managing COVID, and that was to get LA County immunized. And the work you did to help us make sure that we were in a position to stand up vaccination sites, first the mega sites in every district, and then really making sure that the Department of Public Health and Healthcare Services were really empowered to reach out and do the community vaccinations. That was your rallying call, but we need to make sure. You talked about the constituents you met who had taken multiple buses to get to the mega site, and you didn't want to see that anymore. And I think county family heard you loud and clear, and hundreds of community-based sites were set up. In-home vaccination opportunities were offered, and so you led the fight with regard to equity to make sure that everyone could be vaccinated. The other piece I think I'll add is I think when people assume we run for office and are in public life, then we don't have personal lives. And for you to lead in a year as tough as this was, professionally and quite honestly for you personally, was a true example to me of what leadership looks like. And I want you to know that we understand that that's not easy. And you know we all had your back. But to tackle leadership of this board and Metro, when we all have real lives and have deep personal losses that the public may not fully appreciate and get, but we do and we understand it. And again, tip our hats to you and thank you for your steadfast leadership and perseverance and courage and stamina during this past very difficult year for everyone, including you. And so thank you for your leadership from all of us. This will now give you the opportunity, Supervisor Solis, to make your own comments regarding your tenure. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. To all of my colleagues, I'm holding back tears right now. This is really very sentimental, but it also is a day of celebration because, I am rightfully turning over the gavel to our next incoming chair, and I know she's going to be able to do a great job. And I know that expectations are always going to be high for us, especially for women and women of color. And I know that we're going to be able to meet the challenge. And I want to say that during this past year, yes, there was a lot of personal hardship and pain, but I'll tell you, my strength came from my family. Really. It came from my mother, my sisters, brothers, and my husband, and, my dad. All of these values that helped to make Hilda Solis who she is. And, of course, my staff. And I really want to thank them because they have been through a tough time, not just this year, but also serving as the pro tem with Supervisor Barger when she was chair. It was nonstop. And I feel like maybe people don't realize all the inner workings of what we do behind the scenes, but we all work so hard. And I know many people that I've worked with in our departments and our staffs and your staff give up their time and sacrifice, and they're selfless. They're selfless. And I really want to appreciate that. I really want to thank everyone for helping me build upon a vision that I set forth early on, and that was to make sure that the county works for everybody, no matter where you live, what zip code, what educational attainment or lack of education, but that equity be the theme that runs through all of us. And not just equity and equitable funding, but equity in terms of respect and dignity. To me, those are the things that are really of value, and that's how we have to keep moving forward. I want to say that during the recovery that we continue to move forward in through COVID-19 and now with the Omicron, we have so much more work to do, but we've learned and we've unleashed our talents. I saw our department heads doing some remarkable things that were unheard of, and quite literally reimagining how the county was going to function for the past 2 years. But at least this year, when I was serving as chair, I was quite struck by their ingenuity, their creativity, and their commitment to our county residents and to themselves. I think we gave them an ability to unleash their own power, and that's what I believe is what we should be doing as leaders, to unleash that power for the people that we represent. And without all of your help, board members and colleagues and department heads, we wouldn't be where we are at today. And that means 80% of eligible people in the county have at least one dose, have received one dose in their arm. That's because of your work too. I don't stand alone. I stand on your gentle and strong shoulders, colleagues. I didn't do this alone. We did it together. I also want to give a big shout out to the thousands and thousands of county employees who decided to change their classification and became disaster workers. And were so creative. And you could see their humility, their strength, their sacrifices. Many that probably never thought that they would be allowed to go out in the field and really touch people's hearts and look into someone's eyes and see their pain, but help to meet them where they were at and help them solve their problems. And give them that sense of caring that so many people disbelief in county government and even our other forms of government. I am really so proud of all of them and how they helped to meet that challenge. I also want to thank all the county employees in our departments that help us distribute millions of PPE that was so needed at the beginning and continued on in the last year, and then also giving out thousands and thousands of pounds of food to many, many people. That was, I think, one of the turning points for me, to humbly stand there and watch people come in, maybe 5 people in one car, knowing that that was their only car, and maybe that was going to be their only source of food for that 1 week. We did it with the help of the LA Regional Food Bank, with many, many private and public partners, and we did it in every district. And I saw all of you helping in so many different ways. It was so moving and touching comments from people who wanted to express their love and thankfulness to our county and to the Board of Supervisors. I also want to mention that this pandemic, as you know, really showed us where the gaps are in our system, too, of care. And what that meant was that we had to reprioritize very quickly and rapidly where those gaps and holes were so we could meet the need for our constituents. And we did it with the equity lens. And I really want to thank everybody for their leadership in helping us meet that challenge. You know, leadership can mean so many things to so many people. But the way I see it is that leadership has to be one that is collaborative, that brings other people in and listens even to the people that you may not agree with, but understand them and try to work things out and meet them maybe halfway. And many of you did that. And my colleagues did it when we were out visiting some of our cities in particular that weren't all of the mindset that they wanted to help us with our bigger issues of homelessness and poverty. We were able to change some of those cities, their minds and their attitude. And for that, I thank you. I thank you because many of you represent different cities, smaller cities, and you know how tough that was. So I really want to thank and praise you for that. I especially want to thank our CEO, Deja Davenport, and her staff for working with me very, very closely and discussing and having a good policy back and forth on many, many issues and how we could garner more support from the state and the federal government. And I'm happy that she led also. So I want to thank her because this is a new role for her as well, and her leadership team. I want to thank County Council. I want to thank Rod Castro and his team for helping us because boy, oh boy, we were being hit very hard from many different entities at one time regarding the pandemic because people either were questioning our regulations, our rules, and how we dealt with businesses, but we got through it. So I really, really want to thank Rod and your team, and I especially want to thank our executive office, Celia Zavala, and all of her staff that came through here every single month. We met here for a closed session and for board meetings, and always with a cheerful smile and bringing her very delicious fruits and just helping to pamper us get through the day. I really commend you, Celia. I'm seeing so much growth in you and really want to encourage you to continue to do the great work under this new chairmanship that's before us. And again, just lastly, members, I am so very proud. The biggest compliment that I hear about the county is that there are 5 women that are in charge now. And everyone has something wonderful to say about each and every one of you. So again, it's about collaboration. It's about working together in our offices and our staff because it's not too far how we begin to talk, discuss. Sometimes we have discourse, but we end up coming back together and working it out. And I just want to say how very thankful I am for your staff working and collaborating with my staff. And I want to give a special, finally, shout out to my team, Team Solis, to my Chief of Staff, Cindy Chen, and also to all of my deputies as well as our field directors and our staff that really have met us, in my opinion, helped me meet the challenge in my district when I wasn't able to go to every event. They showed up and did the good work that was needed out there. So I want to thank them. And I'll be honest, today I woke up and my husband, Sam, who says hi to everyone, he says, Hilda, now you have time to maybe step back a bit and you can relax. And he told me that, and I looked at him and I smiled and I said, I have to take this in because it is refreshing right now. I have to tell you that. But again, it's been a pleasure to serve as chair of the board. It's always an honor. It's always a privilege. It's a great privilege to represent the largest county in the entire country and one that is governed by women of color, women of power, women of integrity, and women of foresight. So congratulations to all of you and to our incoming chair. I look forward to working with you and your staff and with our partners in our communities. It's always about our communities. So thank you. With that, I know that I am now going to make a motion, Madam Chair, if I might, and I would like to nominate Supervisor Sheila Kuehl as our next Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you very much, and it would be my honor to second that motion, and we'll take the vote on the Chair Pro Tem nomination after public comment. I'm Holly Mitchell, proudly representing LA County's 2nd Supervisorial District. I'm a 3rd generation Native Angelino, born and raised in the South Los Angeles community of Leimert Park. My parents met as eligibility workers working for LA County Department of Public Social Services. Watching my family work at the county and knowing people in my own communities who relied on the county, that taught me at an early age about the powerful role the county plays in transforming lives and shaping the trajectory of our communities. Wanting to be a part of making a transformative impact has always driven me to public service. In every position I've had the honor of holding, whether it be a nonprofit leader fighting for our most vulnerable soldiers and their families, or passing over 90 bills on advancing social and economic justice in the California legislature, I served with a commitment to disrupt the cycle of poverty, correct long-standing injustices, and invest in children and communities of Los Angeles County. You know, a question I've often reflected on is, what role does government play in help to ensure all residents can thrive? These past 2 years of fighting a pandemic that has disrupted every aspect of our lives has shown us how fragile our safety net is and shown a bright light on our hard-to-reach communities and their daily struggle with access to health care, housing, and true justice. We've been through so much, and deep down we know we just can't go back to business as usual. As we prepare for a new year and begin the road to recovery from COVID-19 with a once-in-a-generation investment from the American Rescue Plan, our role as a county is to build back equitably. Last year, I had the honor of being elected to the LA County Board of Supervisors, and I quickly saw the resiliency and commitment of this board, of our public health and county departments, and the over 100,000 county workers who stepped up when our residents need Supervisor Barger's expanding mental health services across our communities and in our schools. I'm motivated by what I know we are capable of. This year, with your support, my office passed one of the largest guaranteed income initiatives in the nation, began the process of phasing out oil drilling across LA County, and supported investments to close the digital divide. Our work together is just getting started. Serving as your board chair during a time such as this, when every step towards our recovery must intentionally build on the progress we've made and make a better tomorrow a reality, is a responsibility I welcome and I do not take for granted. We have structural challenges to address. This includes increased transparency in governance and how we're tackling the moral and economic crisis of serving our unhoused residents. Ensuring our children and transitional age youth that the county is responsible for are being cared for, and infusing investments in the small businesses and local economies that have carried the brunt of this pandemic. When I think of the needs of the 2nd District and the communities throughout LA County, we share a common fundamental goal. We want thriving communities where we can raise our children and grow old with dignity. Our path to making this real for the 10 million residents that call LA County home will require us to have the courage to face the shortcomings within our health, justice, and economic systems so that we can build stronger, more effective, and inclusive public service models for protecting and serving our communities. This is what building back with equity looks like. To the residents of LA County and the over 100,000 dedicated workers who serve you each and every day, I'm honored to work alongside you in building back with equity. I asked what the role of government is in ensuring all residents can thrive, and some of you answered that our role should be responsive, inclusive,
accessible,
Safe, segura,
bold,
multi-generational,
kind,
imaginative, effective.
courageous.
So let's hold on to all that we are capable of being and doing as we journey towards recovery. The road ahead will have its fair share of challenges, but it's also filled with immense promise. I'm ready. I hope you are too. So thank you. Boy, seeing yourself up on the big screen, you know, that's why they play Sheila, that's why they play you and all the men and women of Hollywood, all the big bucks. That's hard to look at yourself on the big screen, right?
No kidding, it's the pores, I'm just telling you.
So thank you. You know, let me just say very briefly, and we'll get into the meat of today's meeting, you know, when I think back over this past year that flew by, I have to acknowledge that second only to my first year as a parent. All of you that are parents, you understand that first year of motherhood or fatherhood is filled with fear and excitement, discovery, with very little sleep and very little self-care. So I think only to my first year of parenthood, this past year has stretched me personally, professionally, like none other. In this year, we had to onboard virtually. I had to learn the culture of the board remotely, to build a team, shape a vision, and serve a constituency in dire need of service, safety, and support, all in the middle of a public health and economic pandemic of epic proportions. So I want to thank you. I want to thank my team for their support, our constituents for their partnership and patience, to the county family, the department, the CEO, the executive's office for your support and tutelage, and of course to my board colleagues. To Hilda, you stewardess, you were the leader and got us through our first year, and you made history, and we will all be forever grateful. I'm honored to take this step with you in our journey to recovery as your board chair. It's a responsibility, again, that I don't take lightly, and one that I welcome with humility and a commitment to service. I have the pleasure of serving on the board of directors of the California Women's Foundation, led by Serena Khan, who just recently came back from a 4-month sabbatical, and she wrote a really powerful message to the broader community, where she talked about her noticing when she was able to slow down and pause for that 4-month period. And she wrote these words: "There's no doubt that as we move into 2022, we will continue to confront challenges. And what I'm noticing is that the solutions to those challenges are in the lessons of our shared success and our many strengths. Our path to build back equitably, to build back with care and compassion for every resident of LA County will require us to have the courage to face the shortcomings within our health, justice, social support, economic systems, so that we can build stronger, more effective, and inclusive public service models for protecting and serving our most vulnerable communities." In a recent conversation with our CEO, Ms. Davenport, she introduced me to this concept of the human services value curve. And again, in this past year, I've really had to value and understand and appreciate how far the county has come from a regulatory business model where we stay within the line, 100 written public comments for today's meeting. And as those written comments were received, all of them were available to supervisors for their consideration, consistent with the Brown Act's requirements. We will continue to receive written public comments throughout the meeting, which will become part of the official record. Now, Madam Executive Officer, would you please read the agenda?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Today's agenda will begin on page 3, Special District Agendas. This is the agenda for the Sanitation District number 27 and the New Howell Ranch Sanitation District. On page 4, this is the agenda for the Los Angeles County Development Authority. Item 1D is a recommendation to adopt a resolution declaring an intent to issue multifamily housing revenue bonds or notes by the Los Angeles County Development Authority in an amount not to exceed $30 million for purposes of financing the site acquisition, construction, and development of the Walnut Park Apartments, an affordable 64-unit multifamily housing located in the unincorporated Los Angeles County community of Walnut Park. On page 5, consent calendar, Board of Supervisors, items 1 through 12. On item 1, this includes an addition as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 3, Supervisor Solis requests that this item be held. This includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On items 4 and 5, Supervisor Solis requests that these items be held. On item 6, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be held. On item 7, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be held. This includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 9, Supervisor Kuehl requests that this item be held. On item 11, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On page 13, Administrative Matters, items 13 through 46. On item 13, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be held. On item 14, the Chief Executive Officer requests that this item be continued to February 22nd, 2022. On item 27, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be held. On page 30, this includes miscellaneous additions to the agenda, which were posted more than 72 hours in advance of the meeting as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 44B, Supervisor Solis requests that this item be held. On item 44C, Supervisor Kuehl requests that this item be held. The requests for continuances through 44F are before you.
Moved by Supervisor Solis and seconded by Supervisor Barger to approve these items. That will be the order.
On page 31, ordinance for introduction. On page 32, public hearing. This item will be held for hearing. On page 33, notices for closed session. That completes the reading of the agenda, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Before we take up public comment, the Executive Officer will read the short title of the public hearing item. Madam Executive Officer, please swear in those who plan to testify before the board on the public hearing item, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those who plan to testify before the board on the public hearing items, please be prepared to be sworn in. In the testimony you may give before this board, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Item 48 is a hearing on the adoption of resolution authorizing the Consolidated Fire Protection District to impose a special assessment on any improved parcel declared by the board to have notorious or dangerous weeds requiring approval in a tiered collection schedule beginning January 1st, 2022. No departmental statement was provided and no correspondence was received.
We will now take public comments for all agenda items. Madam Executive Officer, please read the call-in information that was also provided on the agenda and explain the speaking rules to those members of the public who are calling in to address the board today.
As indicated on the agenda, members of the public wishing to offer public comment should call 877-336-4437 and use participant code number 1366786. To repeat, please call 877-336-4437 and use participant code number 1366786. To members of the public calling in, when it's your turn to speak, please state your name and which agenda items you wish to speak on. You have 1 minute to speak on one agenda item or 2 minutes to speak on 2 or more agenda items. In addition, those who would like to address the board with general public comment will be provided 1 additional minute for a maximum total up to 3 minutes. We will allocate 90 minutes for public comment on all of the items. We will continue to accept all written comments that come in during the meeting, which will become part of the record. When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you're not speaking on a topic, or if we cannot tell if you're speaking on an agenda item, you will get 1 warning from County Council or the chair. If you do not immediately or clearly get on topic, or if you stray to off topic again, you will forfeit the rest of your time, and the chair will move to the next speaker. Please note that if you're also listening to the board meeting on a computer or speakerphone, you will need to turn down the volume on those devices as soon as the moderator calls on you. If you do not turn down the volume, there will be an echo. Moderator, may we have the first speaker, please?
As a reminder, to address the board, if you've not already done so, please press 1 then 0 at this time. Do not press 1 and 0 a second time or you'll be removed from the queue.
Will now hear the Spanish interpretation of this reminder.
Como recordatorio, para dirigirse a la Junta, si aún no lo ha hecho, presione 1 y luego 0 en este momento. No presione 1 y luego 0 por segunda vez o será eliminado de la fila. Gracias.
Thank you. May we have the first speaker, please?
Our first participant will be Tanel Franklin. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you will address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hello. I'll be speaking on item number 3, and I won't be speaking on comment. Good morning. My name is Tanel Franklin, and I am a young leader with the LA Opportunities Collaborative. I'm here to support for item number 3. Thank you, Supervisor Solis and Hahn. As a young adult myself and someone who has struggled with housing and finances, I know the importance of having specific supports and someone to help navigate these complex systems. For many youth, the pandemic is still going on and affecting their daily life. If they become homeless, their mental health will decline. DCFS, LASA, and DPSS all serve young adults in some capacity. If they collaborate, young people have a better chance of stability and won't end up as another homeless statistic. These systems are meant to support youth in need of service. This motion holds them accountable to their charge. Once again, thank you, Board of Supervisors. Have a great day.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant will be Jimmy Rusio. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether or not you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Yes, this is Jimmy Rusio. I am a registered nurse with the Department of Mental Health. I'm a supervisor with the newly formed Therapeutic Transportation Division, and I am speaking on Motion 6 in regards to the patient villages. We need to observe best practice for our patients and not privatize this care. By doing so, we'll have no visibility on the staff disciplines or emergency training or vetting that is required to handle mental health calls for our patients that are truly in crisis. We need to ensure that there's no conflict of interest by using an outside organization. We need to staff these villages with our DMH county employees and have 24-hour access, 24-hour staffing by our PMRT teams. Just like we do at Therapeutic Transport, we are now transporting patients around the clock, even though there's been a delay with the fire department on this. We need to ensure that we have a good visibility on the types of training that these staff are going to have at the villages, and it's why I encourage that we staff these with our full-time DMH employees that are highly trained in conjunction with PMRT and Therapeutic Transport that will be working in coordination with the newly formed 988 phone call coming next year. We don't want our patient care to suffer, and we need to adhere.
Our next participant is Rachael Stein. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address some general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Rachael Stein. I'm the supervising attorney for the Transition Age Youth Program at Public Counsel. I'll be speaking on items 3, 4, and 5 and providing public comment. Public Counsel strongly supports Motion 3. We appreciate the hard work of DCFS and its community partners to help exiting foster youth remain housed after December 31st. But because LA faces an affordable housing crisis, a number of these young people still need housing. My clients who are in the situation fear they will become homeless at the end of the month, which would risk their health, safety, and overall stability. The contingency plans in Motion 3, particularly the need to match unhoused youth to emergency housing resources, are critical to help these young people maintain stability. Public Counsel also strongly supports Motions 4 and 5. Additional funding for housing navigators and the THP Plus program are essential parts of the board's efforts to improve housing resources for transitioning youth. We thank Supervisor Solis for these motions and her important work on behalf of foster youth. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Gwen Snyder. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address some general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, I'm Gwen Snyder. I'll be addressing item 13, item 27, and general public comment. Right. In item 13, LASD claims they require additional staff to address increases in jail population. The solution for the increases in jail population is not to give LASD more funding. It's to reduce prison populations even further. The County First Care vision is focused on decreasing jail population, connecting people to services, and diverting them through ODR or other diversion programs. Every time I come to this board meeting, I hear the vast majority of your constituents begging you to defund the police and the sheriff's department. And every week I hear the same questions of should we fund them being asked again. Defund the police. In this board meeting alone, LASD settlements totaled $3.54 million. with LASD committing crimes ranging from discrimination and retaliation to assault, battery, unlawful arrest, and civil rights violations. LASD are perpetrators of egregious crimes in LA communities. The millions of dollars that LASD wastes on settlements for crimes they have committed against the community annually, as well as their obscenely large inflated budget, can be better spent by directly supporting the Los Angeles community instead of further criminalizing and harming them. In item 27, the OIG report highlights egregious misconduct, abuse of power, and violence committed by the LASD. The board needs to take these reports seriously and respond with aggressive decarceration and divestment from LASD, rather than continuing to fund their violence. This quarter, LASD received 25 complaints related to conditions of confinement in LASD custody and 36 complaints related to civilian contacts. There were 10 deputy-involved shootings, resulting in the deaths of 2 people. There were 14 in-custody deaths, with very little information given about each of them. In 2021 as a whole, 44 people have died in LASD custody, a significant increase from previous years. In county jails from January to March 2021, there was 373 use of force incidents by LASD against people in custody. LASD does not permit OIG staff to monitor ongoing investigations of deputy-involved shootings and does not comply with lawful requests for documentation of these investigations. In investigating deputy-involved shootings, LASD has not provided OIG with access to its body-worn camera videos. LASD is actively avoiding accountability and discipline for this misconduct by refusing to comply with OIG requests for information, documentation, and investigation. Internal reviews that declare LASD innocence are not a form of actual investigation or accountability. If LASD cannot comply with the most basic request for information to determine if misconduct has taken place, how are we to trust the deputies are keeping the public safe when they consistently escape any consequences of their actions? Thank you, and I yield my time.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Chris Wilson. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Chris Wilson, representing BizFed, and I wish to comment on general public comment. On behalf of our founding CEO, Tracy Hernandez, I would like to recognize Chair Solis for her tenure as Chairwoman of the Board of Supervisors. Specifically, we want to thank Supervisor Solis for working with us and others this year on the vaccine rollout to ensure accessibility. On broadband, we appreciate the commitment of Supervisor Solis to continue the dialogue with BizFed and industry leaders with the goal of crushing the divide. And finally, we want to thank Supervisor Solis for supporting the BizFed Institute Equip LA project that provided critical PPE for hospitals and schools, districts, and local businesses. With that, we thank Supervisor Solis for her tenure as chair, and welcome and look forward to working with Supervisor Holly Mitchell moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Melisa Chung. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you very much. Melisa Chung with ACLU SoCal and a resident of District 2. I'm commenting on item 27 and providing general public comment. At last week's Public Safety Cluster meeting, the Office of the Inspector General reported that 51 people have died in LA County jails so far this year. That's a rate of 1 person per week dying in our jails while under the county supervision. The jails are in crisis. We asked this body to require greater transparency from LASD on the fact and the causes of death. The public and oversight bodies can't effectively address issues leading to death in custody without knowing that people are dying and what the cause of death is ultimately determined to be. COVID deaths have been reported publicly as they occur. Other deaths and cause of death can be reported in the same way while protecting the privacy of the individual and the families impacted. The OIG second quarter report called out issues with the effective disclosure of information during confidential administrative death reviews. Already in June, the OIG identified 2 death reviews during which critical information was not disclosed, including the presence of grave and obvious physical injury, a skull fracture from an individual who banged their head against the wall more than 60 times prior to their death in custody. The OIG second quarter report made several recommendations, including greater transparency from custody and CHS, and CHS's resumed attendance at autopsies. Given the continued rise in deaths, we recommend asking OIG whether there's been any improvement in this area or whether similar problems have occurred with death reviews in the last half of the year. A death every week in the jails is an unacceptable tragedy. This board must use all tools at its disposal to demand a swift and informed response from LASD and CHS. And this board must immediately fund more community-based mental health treatment so that those most at risk of death by suicide can be safely treated outside the jails. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Anthony Thomas. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today, and you will address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Thomas. I'm a contracted employee at Harbor UCLA Medical Center, and I'm addressing agenda item 44B. I currently spend about $214 per week on health care. I have a $1,000 deductible, and with the 60-40 contribution, the insurance company says I would have to contribute another $6,662 to meet my financial obligations for my health care. My coworkers and I, we proudly serve to protect the facilities, the county facilities that we work at, and we sacrifice our personal safety, our health, exposing our families to COVID and other items because we're the front line of the essential workers at these facilities, and I just think it's imperative that you address these issues moving forward so that we can have an improved quality of life while working to protect these county facilities. And I would like to comment in the general comments. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Roy Humphreys. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address on general public comment. You may begin.
Okay, my comments will be on items 13, 14, and general public comment. The sheriff's budget, you all have failed to initiate action that would allow the jails to be separated from the sheriff's department to a department of corrections with potential savings of hundreds of millions of dollars. And posse comitatus is something that you need to look into and adopt. On item 14, reviewed the notes. There was a 3-2 vote on the Blue Ribbon Commission, which may serve as an expensive quality control measure or not. Solutions is another issue and failing. You fail to master the obvious, the county-wide necessity for a campsites with toilets and showers. See my YouTube channel for videos on this, and Venice Beach is not an option. You will also note that Rowland Heights is addressing the tunnel dwellers with Caltrans and county storm drain and flood control assets. On public comment, Supervisor Hahn, as to the continued presence of the Stater Brothers Shopping Center camper, I asked several of the managers of businesses in the complex, and they all note that the terms blighting and ghetto image were consensus in terms. The idea that this person and the property owner have been allowed to hold this community hostage is abhorrent. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Oscar Canales. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hello. Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I would like to thank you for bringing the motion. I will be coming on item number 2, number 3, and general public comment. I would love to speak on item number 3. Thank you for this motion and sharing that children can have a place to be able to go after aging out of foster care. I spent time in the foster care system, and it will break my heart to see foster care children, again, aging out and ending up in jail because they no longer are able to receive the services and really just want a place to be able to lay their head and have some food in their stomach. speak on item number 2. I would want to acknowledge the Japanese that were subject to racist and biased treatment for being merely Japanese. One thing we fail to acknowledge, even on this motion, that Los Angeles County, really, when we place the Japanese Americans in these concentration camps, not detention centers, and our country, a home of the free, home of the brave, they were forced to flee their homes, leave their businesses, and leave behind their homes. And, most importantly, their history. 20% of Japanese Jewish made up the population in Lincoln Heights. Luckily, there was Jewish Mexicans, Jewish Russian, Yiddish Jewish, that were able to show the Japanese on what to do in these situations. They buried their family heirlooms and were forced. On December 16, 1941, they were arrested by the FBI, classified as enemy aliens because they were not citizens of the United States, because they were first-generation immigrants from Japan. By law, they had not been allowed to pursue citizenship. Many had lived in the United States for decades. If we want to acknowledge the Tuna Canyon concentration camp, we must call it what it is. We cannot suppress history and call it something else. Currently, Sakura Gardens is a Japanese aging older care. It's currently on the verge of being closed down. That is the last place that the Japanese have history in Lincoln Heights, East LA area. We must stand up for our elderly, most who were transferred to Lincoln Heights during the pandemic, and many who died. I would love to give general public comment now. We all need to know the truth. It is not Democratic versus Republican. I am not a politician. I'm just a human placed on this world by Creator, that created yourself as well. But the so-called Republicans and Democrats,
Our next participant is Eric Previn. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address some general public comment. You may begin.
Yeah, I'm going to address the reorganization item, several items, and a general public comment. So how much time will I have? 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
3. Okay. Thank you. And, I think it's appropriate to thank Supervisor Solis briefly for her tenure as the chair during the pandemic. But, I think we could stop short of wild congratulations because, as people know, it was under her watch that the meetings were reduced to 50% by skipping every other week. And congratulations to the new chair, Holly Mitchell, who was voted into office under the steam of a progressive movement that's really in step with a lot of Angelinos who want to decarcerate, who want to provide equity and fairness and clean up the mess that her predecessor, Mr. Ridley Thomas, made in the district. But she's got an item today, 44E, on the agenda, which is on the supplemental agenda. Now, it's called the green sheet back in the day. It's posted late. And it's really defiant of the governor's order to maximize access and transparency to do what she's suggesting. What she suggests we do is continue going forward to meet every other week in front of the public, the Board of Supervisors. This is unthinkable. I want to shout out to Gloria Molina, who was a leader who insisted that the public be around for meetings and had to fight her own board. And I want to thank Don Kanabi and Mike Antonovich, who I disagreed on almost everything about, but they understood that they had to face the public in a meaningful way. And, I know that there are some clever thinkers on the team. I know that Supervisor Kuehl and Rodrigo Castro Silva are mostly focused on fighting the county sheriff, who is a bit of a hothead, and he wears a cowboy hat, but he's a guy who does want to hear from people, and he's happy to disagree. And I don't know if it's, I think it's unfair to wrap yourselves in the cloak of women, because we love women out in the public, but we do not like reducing public meetings to half. We, men and women, find it draconian and hard. It's hard to provide public scrutiny, which is a responsibility some of us feel to do, when the board is just arrogantly shutting the door and then pointing at Mr. Rodrigo Castro Silva, who sits with Nicole Davis Tinkham, scheming about additional ways to minimize a review of their work. Now, their work, they feel, is great. Well, I'm going to do an analysis of the number of thank yous that were issued. They're dramatically off the period when meetings were open and regular, but there's a lot of thank yous in there. But is there a lot of delivery? Are we experiencing a swelling crisis? Do we have, a rift between what is essentially the public safety cluster in our county and the rest of it?
We have the next speaker, please.
As a reminder, to address the board, if you have not already done so, please press 1 and then 0 at this time. Do not press 1 and 0 a second time, or you will be removed from the queue.
We will now hear the Spanish interpretation of this reminder.
Como recordatorio, para dirigirse a la Junta, si aún no lo ha hecho, presione 1 y luego 0 en este momento. No presione 1 y luego 0 por segunda vez o será eliminado de la fila. Gracias.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Genavive Caverill. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good afternoon. Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I want to speak to item 1, the reorganization, and I am looking forward to a tenure with Supervisor Mitchell. I hope that we'll go back on every week meeting. We are, after all, in a crisis situation, as you mentioned so many times. And since we are in a crisis situation, we should not meet every other week, but we should make it every week. So I hope that that's one of your first duties to do that. And the second is to reopen the board to the public. It is time. We can no longer have our, head in the sand and not doing what's supposed to be done. On item 14, it has been considered forever. That's an item for the homeless from NASA. And we have been postponing it since October 29, 2020. And again, we got moved to February 22, 26. That needs to change. So, good luck. Welcome to the board, and I hope you will do your duty and reopen. It is time. I know, even so, I think Supervisor Solis was trying very hard to do right. She didn't want to reopen the board. She was really a blockage to that. So please do it. Reopen the board. Meet every week. Bye.
Excuse me, your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is J. Stephen Brantley. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address on general public comments. You may begin.
My name is J. Stephen Brantley. I'm a resident of District 5, and I'm speaking in favor of agenda items 13 and 27 and making general public comments. On item 13, having made a commitment to a Care First agenda in alignment with the will of the people of LA County, nothing would be more regressive or irresponsible than to cave to the budget demands of the violent, corrupt, and already bloated LASD. Instead of funding further failure, taxpayer money should instead be directed to community-based programs and services that would actually prevent crime by meeting people's needs. Having committed to closing jails, it makes no sense to give the department money to manage an increased jail population. The clear solution would be to allocate resources necessary to decrease the jail population. Save the LASD some money by putting it into diversion and reentry. And if the jail population is increasing because of recent changes to department policy regarding unhoused Angelinos, the problem is the policy. As a former unhoused person myself, I'm horrified by the return to the criminalizing of people in need. LASD shouldn't have anything to do with the unhoused and would have no need to fund their harassment and imprisonment if we instead directed that money toward housing, mental health, substance use recovery and harm reduction, and other services that actually help people get off the street without putting them in jail. Policing and imprisoning the unhoused does absolutely nothing to curb homelessness, nothing, and indeed makes it much harder for those experiencing it to ever achieve housing security, to gain employment, or become what any of us think as a productive member of society. Now that I am such a person, I don't want my tax dollars being spent on police settlements. Hundreds of millions of our hard-earned dollars have been used up in lieu of real accountability by LASD personnel who have committed assault and battery, discrimination and civil rights violations, murder, and retaliation. If we're looking for ways to make LA safer and save money while doing it, we could start by making the Sheriff's Department financially liable for its own misconduct. Speaking of misconduct, item 27, the board must take these reports seriously and hold the LASD accountable. 10 shootings and 2 deaths, 14 in-custody deaths, 36 civilian complaints, and 25 regarding conditions of confinement during this quarter alone. And given that LASD doesn't allow OIG staff to monitor ongoing investigations of deputy-involved shootings and won't comply with lawful requests for documentation of these investigations, these may be only the incidents we know about. Refusing to comply with requests for information is a transparent attempt by the Sheriff's Department to avoid consequences for their harmful actions. This report reveals those actions include sexual coercion, abuse of power, extreme use of force, and an inability to manage the challenges of prison overcrowding created by the department's own policies and the misuse of those policies. It is high time to decarcerate, demand transparency, decrease the funding of police violence and corruption, and hold these perpetrators of harm accountable to the very laws they have so woefully failed to uphold within their own conduct as members of the force. Finally, I want to express my gratitude for your unwavering support of vaccine access and mask mandates during this incredibly challenging year. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Ellen Gesie. Please state the regular agenda items you are addressing today and whether you will address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Ellen Gesie. I'll be addressing on agenda items 13, 27, and general public comment. I'm a resident of District 5, and I am calling today in support of both items 13 and 27. LASD has identified several critical issues and challenges for fiscal year 21-22 that require additional funding in the future. LASD claims that they require additional staff to address increases in jail population. The solution to increases in jail population is to decrease the jail population, not give LASD more funding to maintain it. The county's Care First Division is focused on decreasing the jail population, connecting people to services, and diverting them through ODR or other diversion programs. The solution is not to give LASD more funding, it's to reduce prison populations even further. LASD has proven its ineffectuality, and in fact, we have reached a point where we are needing funding to protect us from LASD, where ODR has proven with a 90% track record its ability to reduce recidivism rates. LASD has a massive budget that should only be reduced in the coming years. Giving LASD more funding is irresponsible and a direct contradiction of the county's Care First goals. The funding the LASD requests should instead go to community-based organizations that can more effectively address the issues that LASD has outlined, but is entirely unequipped to address. More often than not, LASD exacerbates these problems rather than solving them. In short, the only way to address these issues is by diverting funds from LASD, not giving them more. Despite their massive budget, LASD has consistently mismanaged and abused taxpayer dollars with nothing to show for it. Continuously expanding their budget is throwing away valuable resources that could be spent serving the county instead of terrorizing it. On item 27, again, in favor. The OIG report highlights the egregious misconduct, abuse of power, and violence committed by LASD. The board needs to take these reports seriously and respond with aggressive decarceration and divestment from LASD rather than continuing to fund their violence. This quarter, LASD received 25 complaints related to conditions of confinement, 36 complaints related to civilian contacts, 10 deputy-involved shootings resulting in deaths of 2 individuals, 14 in-custody deaths with little to no information about each one given. In 2021 as a whole, 44 people have died in LASD custody. That is a significant increase from previous years.
Our next participant will be Anthony Arenas. He states regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Anthony Arenas, born and raised in District 3, and I wanted to speak on item 13, 27, and general public comment. For item 13, in short, the only way to address these issues is by diverting funding from LASD, not giving them more. Despite their massive budget, LASD has consistently mismanaged and abused taxpayer dollars with nothing to show for it, and continuously expanding their budget is throwing away valuable resources that could be spent serving the county instead of terrorizing it. And then for item 27, this OIG report highlights the egregious misconduct, abuse of power, and violence committed by LASD. The report highlights that LASD does not have a formal policy when it comes to personal relationships formed by deputies on duty with people currently incarcerated. It simply advises to use best judgment, but the OIG will highlight several cases of deputies taking advantage of the power imbalance between them and people currently incarcerated to form non-consensual, unethical relationships. They use their positions of power to force relationships where women explicitly stated that they only engaged because they were afraid and worried about retaliation if they didn't. In 2017, a deputy responded to an investigation of the rape of a minor by raping her against himself. All of these deputies have been discharged, but the prevalence of sexual violence, abuse, and coercion amongst deputies is a disturbing example of unchecked police authority. This does not stem solely from the lack of a formal policy about relationships on duty. The rape of a 14-year-old girl is a violent crime that would not have been prevented by a formal policy. Common sense dictates that relationships formed with a severe power imbalance are unethical, but nevertheless, deputies regularly abuse their power, and the board continues to fund the operations of a department terrorizing Los Angeles. Policy changes will not stop the violent and criminal conduct of LASD. The board needs to take these reports seriously and respond with aggressive decarceration and divestment from LASD rather than continuing to fund their violence. I yield my time.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant will be Julie Martinez. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Please begin.
Next we'll go to the line of Zek Sandoval. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning, Supervisors. This is Zek Sandoval speaking on behalf of PATH, People Assisting the Homeless, on items 6 and 44D. Regarding item 6, our staff have a strong working relationship at the Harvard UCLA Hospital, linking housing resources to patients who might be exiting the hospital into the streets or otherwise unstable housing. Or patients whose experience with homelessness led them to the hospital. Housing and the necessary supplemental services aren't available at the moment and pace necessary. DHS and DMH staff, though, can be trained to ensure that participants are receiving the support they need to remain both physically and behaviorally healthy for patients who are experiencing homelessness while they're connected to case management. Security staff can support that work as long as they maintain a commitment to de-escalation and minimal disruption. Regarding item 44D, we know our city and COG partners are committed to housing their constituents experiencing homelessness. Measure H enables service providers like us to expand our reach to encompass those individuals and families. We know the pandemic has delayed innumerable services, though, and our partners and local city governments across the county are no exception. So approaching those cities with patience, understanding, and trust allows them and us to tailor our strategies to diverse neighborhoods and individuals. So extending these local homelessness plan deadlines is the right move. We thank Supervisors Solis and Barger for sponsoring this motion, and we congratulate Supervisor Mitchell for her election as chair of the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Richard Hernandez. He states the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Richard Hernandez. I'm director of Estamos Safe Harbor Contigo, or we are in this safe harbor together. I would like to address the general item 1D for the housing revenue bonds for Walnut Park for $30 million and general public comments on the cost and impact of bonds for several items. First, I want to thank Chairman Hilda Solis again and the Board of Supervisors for this opportunity to bring to you the first successful platform expressly developed to provide the county with long-term cost savings with bonds, which will help with our financial recovery. Supervisor Solis, you asked me to explain how our process works and claim to be able to save the county $1 billion of interest on a $1.5 billion bond. It starts not only with the interest the county is being charged, but also the structure which transforms and raises the accrued interest charged to actually 10 times higher than what you are led to believe. This stunning revelation was made known by our research and development team. As a comparison to help best explain, the county had planned to convert the men's county jail to a women's facility, and the original estimate of the conversion was $1.5 billion. To finance the project for 35 years at 5%, the projected payments would be $7 and over $500,000 a month. After 35 years with these payments, the $1.5 billion project will cost you $3.2 billion with interest. Your accrued interest computes to 53%, not 5%. How is this possible? Analytics show that only $1.3 million of your first payment of $7.5 million is applied to the principal, while $6.25 million is paid to interest. If you continue as usual, after 19 years, you would still be paying over 50% of your payment to interest and still owe $1 billion. ESHC factors out 15 years of monthly payments, reducing the debt term from 35 years to 20 years, saving the county 180 payments of $7.5 million, totaling over $1 billion saved. After 20 years with a bond, you can save $1 billion or still owe 180 payments for another 15 years.
Excuse me.
I
have the next speaker, please.
Our next speaker will come from the line of Doral Harlan. He states the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Doral Harlan. Addressing agenda item 1D, number 24, 25, number 19, and general comment.
Please begin.
Item 1D, 7600 Pacific Boulevard. I don't know who really owns that. I was looking, I'm sorry, I don't want to mess up somebody's deal if this is a legitimate deal, but I don't know, it looks kind of funny. The county assessor report for item 1D, it looks like there's a ID change, and the address on the agenda doesn't really match the assessor reports. There's people have applied different addresses. I just think this is something that you guys could do more due diligence and look at it. It looks like the county assessor report's backdated to 2011. If this is one of my properties, then I don't want to let somebody change the assessor report or try and claim it that don't own it, or try and make money off it, or sell something, or build on it, anything on it that don't own it. I don't really know. I don't want to mess up somebody's deal, but that's something to look at. Due diligence, number 1D, okay. Agenda item 24 and 25. Marina Del Rey, there's lots of real estate fraud over there. It says that you guys are trying to lease parcel 65R and 131S for UCLA. I don't know if you're paying the owner of the property for that, or you guys are paying yourselves. That's something that really needs to be looked at over there, Marina Del Rey, what's going on over there. There's lots of real estate fraud. And the description in the agenda for items number 24 and 25 are kind of vague. It doesn't really show the locations on any of the maps, or maybe we could find out a little more. Also, it's really risky over there in Marina Del Rey. My property assessor tax code is O, it's 0. I have a lot of spots over there, and I don't want people building things or doing things over there they're not supposed to, or the county making leases for stuff over there that they're not really supposed to. Just something to look at. Okay, number 19, agenda item number 19, the vote by mail, email verification. Yeah, I had a problem with the recall election. They're able to submit a form back to you that says you didn't sign your ballot, even if you did. So this is a problem. What they have you do, they send you a paper back saying sign this blank piece of paper, and we'll apply it to your ballot. It looks really shaky. The system that they have, they were able to discount my vote for the recall election. I voted to recall them, but it didn't count because it says it wasn't signed, even though I had signed it. So there's something funny going on in there. Somebody found another level to change elections in there. Just take a look at agenda item number 19. And in general public comment, I'm a little concerned about the Board of Supervisors social programming. There's some items on there that, I don't know, it seems like... Yes?
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to the line of Lindsay Verity. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. Please go ahead.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Lindsay Verity, and I will be speaking on items 3, 4, and 5, not general comment. I am an attorney with the Children's Law Center of California, and we are the court-appointed attorneys for the more than those who are in foster care. I work exclusively with our non-minor dependent clients, youth 18 to 21, who have chosen to stay in foster care because they still need our help. The housing issues facing these older youth has reached the point of crisis. I'm just one of many lawyers, and I have at least 30 current or former clients who are not sure where they're going to live on January 1st. It is a very scary time for them. Without stable housing, their ability to stay in school or keep a job is almost impossible. Just last week, one client said to me, "I'm fighting for my life out here." Ensuring that LASA, DPSS, and DCFS are working together is one way that we can help youth access the post-foster care services, which often feel nebulous. And navigating the system isn't easy. Housing navigators are also critical to helping our youth obtain the limited housing that actually is available. There also needs to be housing to access, which is why it is so important that we increase the number of transitional housing beds that are available. My clients typically don't have everything necessary to get their own apartments. They don't have credit, they don't have someone who can co-sign a lease for them, and they don't have a job making 2 to 3 times the monthly rent. They need our support. We commend and thank Supervisor Solis for these important motions and for her ongoing fight to ensure our clients have the support they need as they lose their foster care benefits. We urge your support of these motions. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please? May we have the next speaker, please?
Yes, as a reminder, to address the board, if you've not already done so, please press 1 then 0 at this time. Now press 1 and 0 a second time or you will be removed from the queue.
We will now hear the Spanish interpretation of this reminder.
Como recordatorio, para dirigirse a la Junta, si aún no lo ha hecho, presione 1 y luego 0 en este momento. No presione 1 y luego 0 por segunda vez o será eliminado de la fila. Gracias.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Christian Ramírez. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you very much. My name is Christian Ramírez, and I am the Policy Director for Service Employees International Union, United Service Workers West. I'll be speaking on items 44B and item 14. First, and general public comment. General public comment, I want to appreciate the leadership of Supervisor Solis during this very difficult moment and the important transition that now Supervisor Mitchell will be taking on. On item number 10, I want to thank Supervisor Hahn for asking the board to adopt a vaccination policy for county contract workers who interact with the public and work alongside county workers. This is another important step in our fight against COVID, and it will absolutely help protect worker and public safety. On item 44B, we represent essential workers who have been on the front lines of the pandemic and will continue to be here to keep LA County running, and the LA County Board of Supervisors needs to act like our healthcare matters. It's time to act. We need the board to support supplemental item 44B, healthcare for contracted employees. This is an opportunity for us to ensure that we reward the tremendous sacrifice that county contracted workers have made during this pandemic. Many of them are black and brown workers, and we encourage all supervisors to support this agenda item that has been championed by Supervisor Solis. I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Simone Treckley. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Simone Treckley, and I'm calling from John Burton Advocates for Youth. I'm calling to speak in support of items 3, 4, and 5. First, we'd like to thank the board for their commitment to youth exiting the foster care system, and we'd like to thank DCFS for working diligently with their partners to ensure that youth facing the housing cliff are exiting to stable housing. We'd also like to thank the board for their motions to accept the county's funding for the Housing Navigators Program, which in LA provides critical services for former foster youth with specialized housing choice vouchers, and for the Transitional Housing Program, which provides affordable housing and supportive services to former foster youth. We thank Supervisor Solis for these motions and for her support of transitioning foster youth. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Rudy Mata. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please begin.
Okay, yes, hi. I'm with ARC, and I'm making a public comment on the ankle monitor situation. So I just want to briefly explain. So I was incarcerated at the age of 16. I did 15 years. I got out June 20th. I was not placed on an ankle monitor immediately. I was placed on an ankle monitor about 2 weeks later. And, on basically a technicality, I've been going back and forth with the parole department, and they're saying, well, just to play it safe, we're going to have you on an ankle monitor. And I understand the need for ankle monitors for high risk or whatever the standards are. I don't really know, but I understand there is a need for it for some individuals, but for an individual who is trying to get his life back in order, who is doing good, who is working, who is going to, I was at the county jail last week. We're handing out diapers, we're giving resources, we're doing vaccinations. I feed the homeless on Friday, and I'm part of the policy team. I'm a credible messenger, and just being on an ankle monitor is degrading. It digs into your skin. It's big. It's bulky. I actually came back from my pro officer earlier today because the charging device malfunctioned on Wednesday, I told him. And on Friday, actually, it was inoperable, and he did not care. And because he did not care, I could have easily been sent back to the county jail for violating when I did everything. I contacted him.
Next we'll go to the line of George Gonzales. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Jorge González y he sido un trabajador de IBS, el Rancho Los Amigos, por 10 años. Y la situación ahí es muy difícil. Estamos preocupados porque estamos expuestos a contagiarnos del virus, ¿verdad? El salario que yo gano en realidad no me alcanza ni para pagarme una aseguranza médica. O sea, como pago renta, no pago una aseguranza médicas. En dado caso de que yo me contagie o algo, ¿a dónde voy a ir? Porque no voy a tener para pagar esta aseguranza, ¿verdad? Y la Junta hoy de Supervisores de Los Ángeles debe de actuar porque nuestra salud es importante. Necesitamos que la Junta de 44B de la agenda complementaria atención médica para todos los empleados. Muchas gracias y tengan buen día.
Thank you. We will now hear the English interpretation of this public comment.
Good morning. My name is Julio. I work for Rancho Los Amigos. I've worked there for over 10 years. I currently earn a low salary, and I can't afford medical costs. I also wanted to say that we have to do more in my case to try and support our salary so we can afford for items. I also want to say that I'm in support of item 4B, that the Board of Supervisors should act because it is important for us to have medical coverage. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Pamela Garcia. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Amparo Díaz García, soy trabajadora de IBS, de Harvard UCLA Medical Center, y he estado trabajando ahí por 3 años. Para mí ha sido muy difícil trabajar durante la pandemia porque nosotros corremos muchos riesgos de infectarnos, pero al mismo tiempo queremos y necesitamos mucho nuestro trabajo. Sabemos que nuestro trabajo es muy importante para que podamos vencer la pandemia, pero necesitamos trabajar unidos, porque si nos echamos para atrás, existe el riesgo de que la pandemia se haga más larga. Para nosotros ha sido muy difícil, porque no estábamos preparados para este golpe tan duro. Vamos a trabajar a diario y no sabemos si nos vamos a contagiar ahí, y tenemos familias en la casa. Lo más difícil es que estamos trabajando sin aseguranza, porque no nos alcanza para pagarla. Es cosa de que pagamos la renta o pagamos la aseguranza. Cuando nos enfermamos, el pago es muy caro y no me quiero endeudar en caso de que yo pues necesite la emergencia aún más. En lugar de eso me voy a pues una tienda de la Walgreens o la 99 y compro Tylenol para no endeudarme, porque como no tengo aseguranza. Le pedimos a la Junta de Supervisores que apruebe el artículo 400B de la agenda complementaria, atención médica para empleados contratados hoy. Es un paso en la dirección correcta para los trabajadores esenciales como yo. Gracias.
Thank you. We will now hear the English interpretation of this public comment.
Good morning. My name is Amparo Díaz Garcia. I've worked for over 3 years in the medical field. During the pandemic, our work is important. We cannot back down because if we do, the pandemic will continue. We need to work. We have to work on a daily basis. However, we put ourselves at risk at all times. I also want to say that our salary is low, and we have to make the choice whether to pay for insurance or pay for our rent because of our low salaries. I have to go to the Walgreens or your local 99 cent store in order to keep costs down for my medical supplies. I am calling in support of item 4B because we are essential workers. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
As a reminder, to address the board, if you've not already done so, please press 1 then 0 at this time. Now press 1 and 0 a second time or you'll be removed from the queue.
We will now hear the Spanish interpretation of this reminder.
Como recordatorio, para dirigirse a la Junta, si no lo ha hecho, presione 1 luego 0 en este momento. No presione 1 luego 0 por segunda vez o será eliminado de la fila. Gracias.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will be Michael Mendoza. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, yes, thank you. My name is Michael Mendoza with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, and I'll be speaking in general public comment. Thank you, Supervisor Solis and the Board of Supervisors for this opportunity. At ARC, we agree with the vision that brings people home, especially innocent people that have not been found guilty. We have to do all we can to put people out and provide them with the services they need while we continue to work with all stakeholders, especially those that have been incarcerated and understand the privilege freedom gives us to find alternative solutions to incarceration. Every inch of freedom we can provide can save lives. Even if electronic monitoring is an option, at least it is not incarceration. Those of us that have been incarcerated are grateful for any alternatives until we can get it right. I'd rather be free with my family than in a cell, and we must find a balance to what that looks like. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next speaker will come from the line of Haley Gantan. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address general public comment. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Hyla Gantan, advocacy intern with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I am here to provide general public comment in support of alternative sentencing to incarceration, drawing from my own experience as a person who was on an ankle monitor for the remainder of my sentence. Having the opportunity to be present within the community allowed me to engage and give back while also allowing me to participate in programs and services that promoted my own successful reentry. Through electronic monitoring, I was able to continue my college education to complete my bachelor's degree, engage in professional development training, and eventually obtain a stable job to contribute to the economic growth of the state. This is the exact trajectory that society expects formerly incarcerated people to do with limited resources. This reemphasizes the need for alternative sentencing that allows those who experience incarceration to re-enter society as productive and valuable community members. We have to do all we can to pull people out of oppressive systems and provide them with the services they need while we continue to work with all stakeholders, especially those that have been incarcerated and understand the privilege freedom gives us to find alternative solutions to incarceration. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Estaban Nunes. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide general public comment in support of alternatives to incarceration. My name is Estaban Nunes. I'm the State Director of Advocacy and Community Organizing with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. We entirely support doing all that we can to bring people home, protect their liberty, and eliminate the harms that our systems cause. As formerly incarcerated individuals, we are far too familiar with the harmful realities of incarceration, being disconnected from your family, stripped of your dignity, humiliated regularly, and let's not forget, incarceration exacerbates all underlying mental health conditions. Ankle monitor, although not an ideal alternative, still presents a better option than the status quo. We are currently working to ensure that those being released pre-trial will incur no cost to them. I believe we need to utilize alternatives like this until we can dismantle our system because the suffering and harm of incarceration doesn't stop or wait for us, and only with any window of freedom can bring hope to people. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Richard Hernandez. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Yes, Board, I'm sorry, I thought I had a little bit more time, and so I'm addressing this item 1D and public comment. To conclude, as a gauge about our process, which is copyrighted and is patent pending for the Board, in the first month we will save the county $45.4 million by eliminating 6 payments at a cost of less than $1 million. Mr. Larry Lord, a state of California licensed broker, will be able to verify the accuracy of the numbers and the above projections I shared with you. Utilizing the platform, we will have you payment free after payment 240, not 420 months. We don't touch or handle any funds. We don't represent vendors or banks, foreign or domestic, and we don't share information. The platform can be applied at the start of the term or even 7 years later. I encourage and look forward to having the Board review the information I provided. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Anthony Logan. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Anthony Logan. I'm here with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I'll be making a general public comment about alternative custody placements, such as the ankle monitor. Coming from, I just did 12 years in prison. I left at the age of 18. I returned at 31. And the ankle monitor allowed me to come home to finish doing my sentence, as well as give me the opportunity to decompress before going back all the way into society versus just being shot from prison straight to home. It let me obtain my documents, my license, my social security card, my birth certificate, as well as start looking for employment and getting myself go and get started in society ahead of time versus me having to just sit in there in prison and rot, because prison really doesn't habilitate you. But being able to come back into society and get back back to humanity, it really gives you the opportunity to do so and place on the ankle monitor. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Wayne Feathery. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Okay. My name is Wayne Feathery. I am a resident of District 2. I want to support the supplemental agenda item 44B, healthcare for contracted employees. As I said before, my name is Wayne Feathery, and I've been working at MLK Hospital as a security officer for just about 20 years. Working through the pandemic has made it very unsafe for me and my coworkers. We are dealing with the public every day, and we don't know COVID. We don't know who has COVID and who doesn't. Health insurance is essential right now because we're stuck between making too much money to qualify for Medi-Cal and not making enough to pay for the insurance out of pocket. I do not have health care because I can't afford it, and it's been some time. And also, I can't afford to stay home if I get sick. In a couple of weeks, my wife is going to have triplets, and I'm not sure how we're going to pay the hospital bills. We essential workers have been on the front line of the pandemic and will continue to be here to keep LA running, and the LA Board of Supervisors need to act on our health matters. It's time to act. We need the Board of Supervisors to support Agenda 44B, healthcare for contracted employees. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker comes from the line of Stacy Vega. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Buenos días. Soy parte del sindicato de inquilinos. Estoy abogando por el grupo de personas latinas que están en Jordan Down con los nuevos proyectos que están haciendo de los nuevos edificios. Los acuerdos fueron violados totalmente. Les prometieron algo que no están cumpliendo. Su bill de la luz es excesivo de $400. Estamos hablando de personas que trabajan duramente en casa, limpiando. No pudieron entrar a las reuniones de lo que es las reuniones públicas que hizo Housing. Las hicieron en Zoom. Estuvieron totalmente descomunicados. El nuevo edificio se hizo como en secreto. Si ustedes pueden ver las listas quienes participaron, me gustaría saber quiénes fueron, porque la comunidad latina y las personas afroamericanas muy pobres acá no fueron comunicadas, no fueron informadas. Tiraron flyers un día después de las reuniones. No cumplieron con los 45 horas de aviso. Fueron una sola violaciones que hicieron. Tienen que enfocar. La gente está sufriendo porque los nuevos edificios, el bill es demasiado caro de la luz, y ellos dicen, o firman o te vas. Y su gente los están intimidando. Firma. Claro, hay mucha gente que el acuerdo es pasarlos, pero después de un año, a las nuevas renovaciones de sección 8, ya no van a calificar y están quedando en la calle. Algunos ya no pueden calificar. Entonces, y también les están pidiendo un cheque en blanco. ¿Quién va a dar un cheque en blanco, señores? Ustedes están haciendo lo imposible por sacar a la gente de la calle, y Housing está haciendo lo contrario. Así que, por favor, enfoquen, y gracias por tomar mi llamada. Agradecida. Buen día.
Thank you. We will now hear the English interpretation of this public comment.
Good morning. My name is Stacy Vega. I'm calling on behalf of a tenant community group for Jordan Downs. The new building, the electrical bills are extremely expensive. They're over $400. We cannot access the public meetings that they had for the community group. They've had the meetings via Zoom. However, we cannot access those. The new buildings were done in secrecy. The Latino community and the African American community were not informed. Also, the ultimatum was given to us to sign or leave. Many of us cannot qualify. They were asking us to just basically sign a blank check. Things were asking for your assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from the line of Amilla Dorada. Please state the regular agenda items you're requesting today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Sí, buenos días. Yo soy residente de Jordan Downs. Estoy haciendo mi comentario acerca de que pues nos quieren mover a los nuevos apartamentos, los cuales no tienen lavadora ni secadora, y tampoco tienen espacio para que jueguen los niños. Son muchos apartamentos en un solo piso. Entonces, también la preocupación que tengo es de que los biles de la luz están demasiado caros. Está saliendo demasiado cara la luz. Y pues lamentablemente en esos apartamentos todo es eléctrico. Otra cosa de que nos dijeron en algunas juntas que asistí, de que iban a tener lavadora y secadora, lo cual solamente con la primera fase tiene lavadora y secadora, y donde nos están queriendo mover no tiene lavadora ni secadora. O sea, hay cosas de que se ofrecieron al principio de la construcción de los nuevos edificios, pero desgraciadamente no todos los edificios están como nos dijeron que iban a estar al principio. Entonces esa es mi preocupación ahorita, ¿verdad? De que son demasiados apartamentos en un solo piso, y pues lo alto que están saliendo los biles ya a las personas que ya están en los nuevos apartamentos. Este es pues mi comentario, y muchas gracias.
Thank you. We will now hear the English interpretation of this public comment.
Good morning. I am a resident of the Jordan Downs community. They want us to move from one apartment. They do not have hookups for laundry, for washer and dryer. And also they do not have an area for the children to play. The light bill is expensive. Unfortunately, the apartments are all electric. Many promises were made in the initial steps of the project. However, the promises have not been fulfilled at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant will be Jackelin Reyes. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Sí, mi nombre es Jackelin Reyes. Estoy hablando de Jordan Downs sobre los apartamentos nuevos que han hecho. Mi comentario es, en el 2018 nos dieron una promesa que no han cumplido. Dijeron que era para mejorar la comunidad, cosas que no han hecho. Han empeorado con la violencia, hay más balaceras. Los apartamentos los están haciendo tipo cárcel o escuela. No hay yarda, no hay patio, no hay nada. Y ahora hasta ni lavadora ni secadora le han puesto. Entonces yo pienso que en lugar de mejorar la comunidad, la están empeorando. Entonces, si iban a gastar miles de dólares, millones para arreglar y hacer eso, ¿por qué no se dedicaron a remodelar estos apartamentos donde tenemos buen espacio, todo está muy lindo y han gastado dinero en balde porque los apartamentos que han hecho es como una cárcel? Por lo menos, en mi opinión, pienso que la gente va a vivir más estresada de lo que ya vive. Yo pienso que han hecho una mala inversión en hacer esos proyectos nuevos. Esa es mi humilde opinión y muchas gracias por haberlos atendido.
Thank you. We will now hear the English interpretation of this public comment.
Good morning. My name is Jackelin Reyes. I'm calling from the Jordan Downs community. In 2018, a promise was made and unfortunately was not kept. Things have gotten worse for my community. The community currently looks like a prison and not an actual neighborhood. Millions of dollars were spent and were not continuing to be so. Thank you so much. These are my concerns.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next speaker will come from line of Tina Juarez. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address general public comment. You may begin.
Please begin.
Hello?
Yes, please begin. We have the next speaker, please.